All right, welcome back, everyone. If you pay attention to the news headlines, you no doubt seen the countless stories about the dangerous concussions athletes suffer on the field. And we're not just talking about professionals, but players at all levels and all ages.
And an NBC News survey shows nearly 90% of parents worry about concussions if their children play contact sports, and they have reason to be concerned. A recent study estimated that nearly 2 million sports-related concussions are suffered by children under the age of 18 every single year. And now experts are raising questions about whether those hard hits during games and practices could be causing permanent brain damage even if there are no concussions.
So get this, a team from Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center looking at hundreds of less serious head blows an athlete might receive. They focused on 25 players between the ages of 8 and 13 involved in a youth football league. And get this, the study found the more head blows a child sustained, the more they noticed changes in the brain tissue.
Most of the news coverage has focused on football and head injuries, but we've also seen impacts in all kinds of sports. Earlier, we sat down with a group of parents, coaches, and medical professionals to talk about whether participation is worth the risk.
You know, I know we're not just talking about football here, but we're talking about all sports. But just think about this. You know, across America, we're talking about 3 million kids from the ages of 6 to 18. They're playing football is a big deal in the United States, and now concussions are a big topic as well. So what do we do to protect our kids and make sure that those 3 million kids out there are safe?
I think we're already doing it, Ron. I really believe it. I think that my kids have a son and a daughter who are playing sports right now at in Decula Athletic Association, and I believe that the coaches are more prepared than when I grew up playing sports. I believe that education for these athletic associations are right at their fingertips, and I think that as a whole, the community, folks like Paige and the Concussion Institute are doing a good job of holding us accountable. So I think, you know, right now we're doing a good job with the information we have.
Yeah. But what about, I mean, there are some programs across the country who are eliminating their high school football programs because they feel like there is too much of a danger. And Jason, maybe you can speak to this. Your son has been playing since he's been 6, and you've seen some injuries with kids who have been as young as 9 years old.
Yeah, there's a kid on my son's team this year. He fractured his vertebrae in practice. And one of the things that we look at is it worth it? But at the same time, I think when you're looking at high schools getting rid of that sport, maybe to me it might be more of a legality thing that they're looking at, and they don't want to take the risks. But sport is going to be always around. It's big money. It's big business from the 3-year-olds up until the 20-year-olds. It's big business, and I don't think it's going to go away. We just have to be really careful and hold folks accountable, and that's why we have folks like this up front that write the columns, that do the medical research. So as parents, we can also hold the associations, the coaches, and the teams accountable for practicing properly.
I do feel like as the research starts coming to pass and we look at these young brains, some of the organizations that are the national organizations for youth soccer and football and ice hockey really can take a look at the studies and get advice on how to maybe minimize the risks for our youth. I do think we need to keep educating our parents, educating our coaches, make great wise decisions about what to do with our kids when they get concussions, but we might be able to minimize the risks, maybe not eliminate the tackles, but maybe reduce the number of tackles during practices, sort of what I have seen youth baseball do in how many pitches a pitcher can throw when they're young. So maybe there's some middle ground there that could sort of mitigate that risk for our children and still allow them to have fun and play these sports.
Paige, how do you hold the teams that your child may be playing for accountable and make sure that they're keeping your child as safe as possible?
Well, I think that there are absolutely must-dos that, frankly, the state law requires. And then there are, I talk with organizations often about you can do what's required of you or you can do what we know is right. You can follow best practices, you can put the best protocols in place, not because you have to, but because we know there are things that we can do in advance to make the field safer, to make the organization safer, to make parents more aware, and to really follow those best practices is most important.
Mary Beth, what is it for you? Because I know your kids play soccer, and what are the the things that you've put around them in terms of making sure that they're safe?
She knows that I yell at her from the sidelines if she does a header, because she knows I don't like that, because I worry about that for her, and she knows that's part of the game. But she'll also find a way to trap the ball on her chest or another way instead of taking direct hits. I know sometimes it happens, but instead of taking direct hits to her head, she tries other ways to trap it. But it's just part of the game, and girls play rough soccer. So if they're not getting headers, they're out there going for the ball and they're hitting their heads together out there. So you see that.
We have to wrap up here pretty quick. We've had a lot of discussion, obviously, about CTE, about the different sports that are out there. One final word from each of you to parents out there who are considering placing their kids into a contact sport.
One thing I would say as a parent, when you go to sign up your youth organization, your church organization, I think you should ask the coach in the organization, what are your protocols and what are your level of education? And if they don't have a good answer, there are resources out there.
For me, it's knowing the signs and symptoms. It's knowing and being aware, signs and symptoms, and what to do, the proper protocols of how to respond when you suspect a concussion.
We've played in Gwinnett, DeKalb, Atlanta, College Park. And one of the things I can say, every organization, they care about the kids. And if you're in an organization, looking for an organization, make sure they care. And you have to be involved. It's not just a drop-off type of situation. You want to be involved. You wouldn't drop your kid off at the mall and just say, hey, you know what, go do whatever you want to do. So be engaged, be involved, and I think we can have safer kids and safer families.
All right, really interesting conversation there. You're going to find a lot more on recent CTE studies on our website, 11alive.com. And you can also vote on our 11 Alive poll, should children younger than high school age play contact sports? Right now, more than 60% of you are saying no.